Hey everyone, it's Wellens, and we are doing a once in a blue moon Q&A today. I feel like I sound kind of depressed or like I'm dreading it or something already, which... Yeah, okay, you know what? Let's start this over again. Hey everyone, it's Wellens and we're doing a Q&A today, yay! You know, I always... Every single time, I don't know why I'm like this, but So what happened was, why am I doing a Q&A? Let's just pretend it's for 80k subscribers, okay? Because that'll make me feel a little bit better. But the real reason was, sometime around August last year, I don't know what came over me, but I had this idea that, well, to begin with, some of you might know that I find Q&As a little bit intimidating, which is why I don't really enjoy doing it that much. I'm very flattered that people want to know about me and stuff, but it's something that takes a lot more effort out of me than just me playing games. So that's where we're starting off at. And then last August, I was thinking, well, maybe the reason why I find it so overwhelming is because every single time I get so many questions and it ends up being like a 3-hour video. So if I do a smaller one, then maybe a smaller one more frequently, then maybe I'll eventually get more comfortable and not dread it so much. And so that was last August, and I collected questions from Patreon and YouTube members. And now we are in 2023, January. I'm really sorry. I don't know why I'm like this. I think I'm just kind of bad at talking about myself in general. So, you know what? I'm rambling already. Why don't we just begin? To make up for taking so much time, this time, I thought we could look at something other than an Excel spreadsheet that looks like homework. What you're looking at on the screen is last year. I think it was around May or so. I'm actually not sure. I bought a Lego set of a Tallneck from Horizon, and I thought, well, hey, maybe I should film the process of me building it, and I'll just keep the footage, and eventually I'll have a place to use it somewhere. You'll have to excuse the quality though. Like, at the time when I filmed this, I didn't own any kind of proper camera. The best camera I had in my entire possession was my iPhone 7 that came out in 2016. That combined with the complete non-existence of proper lighting in my room, it's just kind of crappy overall, but hey, I figured it's more interesting than an Excel spreadsheet, right? My phone has given me notifications I've never seen it display before in this whole process, and long story short, this did end up pushing me to get a beginner's camera later on, but anyway, back to the Q&A. Like with the previous times, I've roughly split it into games-related questions, channel questions, and personal/miscellaneous questions. But this time I only asked YouTube and Patreon members, so it does feel like the kinds of questions are a little bit different. Relatively few of them, will you play this game, will you play that game kind of question, and more that show that people are really paying close attention to me, which is a little bit scary. I tried my best to stick to brand new questions, or questions that I feel like I have more stuff to add than the last time I answered it. So if you notice anything that seems like a really obvious question that nobody asked, probably it's because it's been answered previously already. I'm hoping I can keep this video shorter, under 1 hour maybe. Hope I succeed. Let's begin. Time-lapse video of the Lego Tallneck set when? Now. How are you? How are you doing? I'm doing okay. Thanks for asking. That's actually really sweet. Yeah, my glass is half full. I guess, it's never gonna be perfect. Things feel like it's always really busy, but I'm doing okay, I think. So those were 2 questions I wanted to knock out right away, but let's go back to video games a bit. Would you ever consider playing The Witness? Probably a little bit difficult. Tunic sort of tricked me a little bit. People who know the game know what I mean, but in the beginning it wasn't like that, and then I just even while I was playing Tunic, I felt like there was a lot of pressure on me. Maybe a lot that's been placed there by myself, but in making videos, I always feel like I need to make progress and stuff, and puzzles are just not something that I can guarantee I can make progress in, so probably difficult, especially seeing how long The Witness is. What would you want to see in the next Mass Effect game? Non-humanoid hot aliens. Maybe it's because it's biologically wired into us or something, but every single love interest in Mass Effect so far, it's always some biped humanoid creature, right? But no one takes the jellyfish or the elephant seriously, and I want that to happen. Is that a little bit too unrealistic to ask for? I feel like it might be. But I would love to see a non-humanoid hot alien. Period. You mentioned during Mass Effect that you played it before but didn't care about the story back then. Was it a specific game that made you interested in the story in games, or was it something that happened over time? A little bit of both, I think. I cared about the story on a surface level, but not like Like, I never read the codex, and I sort of just glossed over everything. Yeah, it's overall just a bit of age, growing up in general, and this channel. Because if I'm gonna run a channel that says, hey, I am gonna play story games, I gotta pay more attention, right? In an effort to make better videos and all that. And then it became sort of a chicken and an egg situation where because of this channel, I paid more attention to stories and games. Because I kept doing that, I started enjoying it more and more. This one's talking about The Somnium Files and its sequel. How vindicated did you feel when Hitomi's dance animation was changed for Somnium Files 2 to account for her arm injury? Well, they didn't fix it in dance mode, so to me, it's not actually fixed. Would you ever consider playing the XCOM series or Phoenix Point? I think these games are a little bit too strategy-based for me, especially in a YouTube setting where everything I do will be looked at under a microscope. I've tried playing XCOM a little bit in my spare time before, but not in any sort of like hugely strategic capacity. I just sort of like clicked around and stuff. I didn't hate it. I just don't think it's something that I would do well with on the channel. Will I ever play OG Deus Ex? If a new Deus Ex game comes out, yes, I do want to. It's something that I've been interested in a while, but I remember trying it out before, and it was one of those games that felt quite dated though, so I'm not sure how I would do, but I am interested in it. Do you have a harder time playing through longer games as you get older? No, because of this channel. Because this channel runs on a schedule, there are videos at, set times every day and whatever, so things have to get done whether I like it or not. Which sounds like I don't like it, but I'm just saying it like it is. I'm not saying I like it or don't like it, I'm just saying I don't have this problem because of this channel. That's all. If I wasn't running this channel though, hard to imagine, because I feel like my entire video game playing habits would be completely different. I might not even want to play newer games because I want to save money and all that, so yeah, hard to say. What household chore do I hate doing? Dishes are pretty bad, but I don't like doing the laundry. If you were in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, who are 3 video game characters you want on your team? Well, the easy ones would be stuff like Ellie from The Last of Us 2, and Caitlyn from The Quarry, people who can actually get stuff done. But what about stuff like superheroes? Can I do that? I'll just say a superhero then. I don't know, like freaking, I don't know what superhero would be good for this, but, something along those lines. How are you doing with horror games these days? And I'm really sorry about not answering you in time for Halloween. I did answer you in a channel update, I hope you saw that, but if you didn't, here I am. I feel like I'm a lot better than, I don't know, say like 5 years ago, for sure. Stuff that's like The Quarry doesn't really scare me at all because it's more QTE based, but stuff where I don't get to attack back, I feel like is a bit of an unknown because I really haven't played too much of those. If it's horror, but I get a gun, if I can destroy the thing that's making me scared, then I feel like I'm okay. But if I don't have a weapon, then I don't know. And we don't have to find out, I'm okay with that, that's fine. A magic genie grants you 3 wishes, 1 new game release, 1 change to a game, and 1 change to your channel. What do you wish for? New Deus Ex? Change to a game? There are so many games that I want changes to, but off the top of my head, okay? Make it so that Metro Exodus stops having people monologue at you for 5 minutes in a row. I feel like that was a big problem with that game, narratively. And a change to the channel. Change my name! Change my name, it's too long and cumbersome, and a lot of people apparently have problems with it. I don't know why. Everyone thinks I'm Melon or Melons. 2-part question. First, how dare you? Second, I feel like Valhalla could have used more gameplay, like making the game serve more drinks and stuff. What do you think? I don't know. For that case specifically, it's like asking a visual novel to not be a visual novel. It just feels like, well, I want it to be something else entirely then, right? It would be cool if it was a bit more involved, but I'm okay with it as it is. There could be more drinks or some side events that happen during the bartending, but yeah, I'm fine with it. When I played Sleeping Dogs last year, I mentioned using a controller, but a keyboard and mouse before. Do I generally prefer controller these days? Absolutely not. For the case of Sleeping Dogs, I tried using keyboard and mouse to begin with, but it felt really weird, I don't know why, and I just wanted to get the recording done, so I tried a controller for the first time. But no, in general, if I can choose, I would always choose keyboard and mouse. Even Outer Wilds, every single time I open the game, they're like, hey, we recommend you use a controller. I still refuse to. Like, especially for first-person games, I cannot play first-person games with a controller. I just don't know how that works. Would you ever play quote-unquote traditional visual novels, maybe dubbed ones, since I noticed you don't really like talking out loud for an hour straight? Traditional meaning no gameplay, right? I think every single visual novel I played here, or maybe like 90% of them, have some kind of gameplay element to it. Unlikely, I would say. Video is a visual medium after all, and I personally feel like I need the visual novel to have some interaction, okay? Maybe let's not even go as far as saying actual gameplay. Let's say I need to click on things, because I know some visual novels don't even have choices. It's basically just reading, and at that point, I feel like it's more of an audiobook, which no problem with that, but personally, I feel like I need a little bit more gameplay than that. I could see myself doing one if it's shorter, like maybe 6 to 8 hours maximum. But yeah, anything longer, I think that would be a really, really tough sell. If it's voice, it's definitely an easier sell. Okay, channel stuff. How do I avoid spoilers in the comments? Number 1 would be play ahead. Number 2 would be look at the video comments sorted by top rated. Because I do think that other people also get upset about spoilers and they thumbs down comments that are spoilery. And so when you sort it by top rated, all the spoiler stuff gets pushed down to the very, very bottom. It is a difficult one because a lot of you want me to read your comments, but then someone will just not play nice or do it accidentally. So here's a reminder. If you're not sure if something is a spoiler, just put it under a read more cut. It's free. You can do it for free. Thank you. How do you feel about the parasocial relationship that forms between me and viewers? I think this is probably a topic that could be like its own video entirely. I guess to begin with, people make channels and upload videos for all sorts of different reasons, I think. Some people might be here to try to make new friends across the globe and lifelong relationships and all that. Personally, for me, the big primary thing has always been to play video games and to share my experiences with anybody who wants to also take part in that, and that's really it. I do consciously do or not do certain things to align with what I just said, and I guess because of that, I do feel like I probably get way less of the parasocial stuff than some other people might. For example, I don't do face cam, and I am a bit selective with what information I choose to share out into the world. And I'm not trying to sound unpersonable or unfriendly, this is just what I need to do to survive on the internet. That's all. I'm very flattered that people like me, and they want to get to know me better, and they think I'm cool, even though I guarantee you in real life I'm like 20 million times less cool than you think I actually am. But if I'm being honest, over the years I have had my fair share of unpleasant, disturbing, or uncomfortable interactions, and I categorically don't really talk about this because if someone's being malicious, then no need to give them attention, or if someone isn't being malicious intentionally, then I'm not interested in putting them on the spot. Generally though, for me, the nice interactions outweigh the not so nice ones by a really, really big margin, so I'm not too worried about it overall. You all self-select to stay here. If someone wanted to look for some bigger parasocial thing or face cam, I don't offer these things, so they would have left already. Now, doing a Q&A, I feel like definitely counts as being a parasocial thing because it's me trying to feed your curiosity of wanting to know more about me, which I'm like, oh my god, is this parasocial right now? But I think it's okay. It's not like I hate people. I've had some people who are like kind of scared to talk to me and stuff. Like, I don't bite, okay? It's fine. You can send me your watermelon memes and pictures of your household pets and all that. I would still love to see those things. What is it about making videos that fulfills you? I think it's the entire process of working hard on something, putting effort into it, and then outputting it. And also the very human need to create. Whether it's writing or drawing or making YouTube videos or, I don't know, making GIFs for your favorite Tumblr fandom. I don't care what it is. I feel like creation is a very human need. Creating and sharing. In this universe, for me, it happened to be making videos. But there's absolutely another universe out there where that's not the case, especially since, I think I've mentioned this many times before, I don't think my personality has a natural disposition towards video making. So yeah, it just turned out this way, basically. One thing that I also get to do when commentating video games is I get to sort of roleplay as someone that I'm not really. Sometimes the things I say on recording, I can't even apply to myself. Like a true case of do as I say, don't do as I do. What's something that you wish you could work on for the betterment of either yourself or the channel? Okay, I've talked about this quite a few times before. It's actually one of the reasons why I made the channel, but I really want to learn to speak better. I can't speak. I have specific things about my own talking that I don't like that I don't mind sharing what it is, but I don't want you to notice it, so I'm not gonna say it. But I just feel like speaking, the ability to speak concisely, clearly is, it's a very important skill, and I would like to do better in it. What's something I pride myself on? Consistency, I think. Something that I've been trying to build up implicitly with you being here is that if I start a new video series, I'll see it to the end. Because I know it's not always a given. Sometimes you'll have people who play games, they start and then they just don't ever end it off. And if I were a viewer, I feel like I'd be kind of disappointed. So the middle ground I have here is I either do one video, a first look, or a full series. And I feel like I've done pretty good at this. I haven't really broken this record for quite a few years now, I think. What has been your most challenging Let's Play yet? Either challenging to play or to record. You know, I just recently finished playing God of War Ragnarok, and there were some really difficult bosses in it, so I feel like some people might expect that I'll say something like that, but actually, for stuff like that, if it's challenging to play, I don't mind, but what I really mind is challenging enough to play that it causes disruptions in recording schedule. Like I just said, I value consistency a lot, and when stuff interrupts that consistency, it really irritates me. What kind of stuff interrupts it? When games take more effort to produce videos of. For example, if I play a visual novel or a point-and-click game, if I play for 1 hour, generally I can probably get like 50 minutes of usable footage out of it after taking away stuff like loading screens or whatever, maybe even more. But games like Tallneck or Sifu in particular, that ended up as a 10 video series, but I feel like I cut out what felt like 20 hours of content of me just practicing the bosses. So from a consistency perspective, I really was frustrated by that. So what I'm really trying to say here is Sifu. How do you manage a job while also releasing videos at the pace you do? I tend to schedule things pretty tightly. It's not always that bad, but for example, I get off work at 5 p.m. and then I eat dinner at around 6 p.m. So the 5 to 6 p.m., right after I get off work, because I've mostly been working from home these days, immediately after I log off from work, I will go and do some recording. And you know what? Some days it really is tough, but it's not like that all year round, so it's not super bad. And I'm a 9-year-old boy, although I must be 10 by now, right? How do you combat burnout from playing video games and creating content? I don't. I'm permanently burnt out to some degree, which, you know, that's a joke with a half-truth inside it. I'm not mentally burnt out though. Mentally, I feel like I'm always pretty okay. It's usually when I'm just physically tired. That's what really gets me. It helps that this is something I enjoy though, because I only play games here that I actually want to play. And then the whole loop of playing video games and then going to edit and then making thumbnails and all that, the loop keeps it fresh. So I'm not just like playing video games for 9 hours a day or making thumbnails for 9 hours a day, editing for 9 hours a day. This isn't my full-time job, so I have quite a bit of freedom in choosing what I actually want to play. And then some questions about being a VTuber. Pretty sure I've answered this one before, but the long story short is currently no. I don't like closing doors for myself, so I'm never gonna say absolutely no to anything. But I don't think it's as simple as adding a anime avatar to the videos though. I feel like VTubers sort of occupy an entirely different space in the whole Let's Play / streaming scene. If I put it really bluntly, I do think this has a much bigger parasocial component to it. Also, I can imagine it makes editing a nightmare, so yeah. Because you're a voice-only Let's Player, do you find yourself intentionally vocalizing emotion more than you would otherwise? For example, saying "oh my god" when surprised or "sugar" when scared, when you can't rely on looking scared or excited to get the emotion across to viewers. For specific emotions, no, but sometimes when I'm editing, I find myself sounding kind of monotone. And so when I play, I do sometimes switch up inflections of how I speak on purpose just to wake myself up a little bit. For the most part, I think my emotions to situations come across okay though. But one thing that I wish I could do that I can't do without a camera is show my WTF face. Like I do this face a lot, but nobody ever sees it. Yeah, this is interesting question. I also feel like it's the beginning of a slippery slope. I feel like it goes to how, YouTube, at the end of the day, when you turn on the camera, when you press the record button, it intrinsically becomes a performance. People might not want to consciously think about it much, but it's not something you can escape. And so maybe I actually do these things, but I don't even realize it. Because Let's Playing, streaming, it's not the same as just playing the game yourself, but with a record button on. I wonder if you'd rather play games on the channel you've never played before, or games that I know what direction they'll go in. I think I prefer playing stuff I've never played before, and I think you do as well, because I guess a lot of people are here looking for certain reactions to certain scenes in certain games, and if I've played something before, I can't theory craft. Of the games that I've played on the channel where I've played it before, it's usually after it's been a while, and I've forgotten a lot of the stuff already. I think it's a bit of a different commentating skill to play and commentate on something that I've seen already. Because I can't theory craft, everything I say will just sound like it's absolute truth, right? And I don't know not quite sure I know how to work with that. Are you still working full-time besides making videos? Yes. My schedule for the day depends on what videos need to come out the next day. For example, if I need 2 videos tomorrow of 2 different games, then I have to make sure that I do the thing that lets me get there, right? I can't spend 5 hours playing one game and ignore the other game. So yeah, some days I record, some days I don't. It really just depends on what I need to do. But in general, I do record more on the weekends, and I usually edit either during early morning or late night, because those are times where I'm kind of sleepy and tired, and I can't really commentate effectively. And then my afternoon, evenings are for recording. What are some of your favorite comments and messages? I can't even list it because I've gotten so many really, really nice messages that I can't believe that people would write such nice things to me. Let me just take this chance to thank you all for leaving me kind comments and stuff. It's really appreciated. A lot of you guys send me really nice stuff, but my favorite ones are not just those ones, but ones where you're nice to other people too. Just be nice and civil and chill overall, okay? Because I've seen situations where someone's nice to me in my own comments, and then I see the same person in someone else's comments, and they're like trashing the other creator or whatever, and that makes me really sad. And yes, I do remember your username for future reference, because I don't like that. By the way, I do read the comments in the comment section. I feel like if you actively watch my videos, it's pretty obvious, but in case if you were wondering or having doubts, I do read them. Oh, and I really love informational comments too, like people trying to add extra trivia or historical context for the setting of the game or like stuff like that. I really enjoy those, so thank you again, guys, for all the fun comments all the time. Would you ever consider proper sponsorships, not just free games for your channel? Yes, and I have done a few already. The latest one I think was Tallneck. I do get offers from time to time, but I am a little bit picky with what I choose to accept because I like being free. I don't like being told to do stuff. Basically the same as how I look for first looks for games. I'll look at the description and maybe check out a few trailers. If it looks interesting and it fits here, sure. But yeah, I don't usually get to play the game before accepting the sponsorship, so sometimes I'm like, well, I don't know if the game is gonna be good either. And you know what? Just between you and me, I nearly didn't play Tallneck because of this. That one turned out to be basically a channel classic, especially if you've seen the thumbnails. So the short answer is yes, I will consider it if I think it's the right call. That being said, I don't want you to get the wrong impression that I'm a morally righteous person with ethical standards, because if someone came up to me being like, hey, we're gonna pay you an astronomical amount to play a crappy mobile game, you bet we're doing it. Would I ever consider YouTube full-time? I've been asked this question before in previous Q&As, and I think I said something like, well, the first thing that has to happen is that it's monetarily viable, right? But I think now thinking about it, the second, maybe even more important requirement is that it has to be on my own terms. Like if someone said I could go full-time, but I would have to play a game that I don't like every day, or every week, or even every month, I might not enjoy that very much. Unless if I was being paid an astronomical amount to the point that I don't care about not being happy anymore, then yeah. Would you consider yourself family-oriented? Yes. Without my family, I'm nothing. If people want to recommend me Switch games to play on the channel, what's something I'm looking for? Preferably short. Yeah, I got a Switch a few years ago, but so far, all I've done on it is play Ring Fit Adventure. I haven't done anything else. So, recommend me your short games, please. What made you want to start doing Let's Plays on YouTube? It's the speaking better thing, but also a moment of madness. Truly. I think back then, I used to be quite a avid watcher of Let's Plays myself. I used to watch a lot of Minecraft Let's Plays by the creatures, and I just thought, hey, well, maybe I can try making some videos myself too, and Next thing I know, here we are. Do you ever get bored of reading text lore in games? How do you motivate yourself to read them if you do? Yeah, sometimes I do. I think it really depends on the game though. If it's a document within the game while you're just playing it, I don't mind. But if it's like a 20-paragraph character bio detailing the life of the person since their birth to their death to their journey to becoming a vampire, then yeah, that gets a little bit crazy. Up until now, I do think I've mostly been trying to read it as much as I can, but I figure if I get bored reading it, you'd get bored listening to it too. So in that particular instance of, the swan song thing, what I did was I read it by myself first and then summarized it in like 30 seconds or so. Sometimes I do it not because I enjoy reading, I don't actually love reading that much, but it's just that I feel like if I'm gonna call myself a story/narrative-based channel, how can I not read it, right? Like I feel like it's kind of disingenuous to be like, I like the story in games and then like just start ignoring a huge chunk of the story. So I do it partially because I feel like I have an obligation to. If you've seen me play stuff like Mass Effect or Dragon Age, sometimes I'll try to read like, a few at a time, but I won't read like for 1 hour straight. So that's how I try not to keep it too stale. Has there ever been a behind-the-scenes error that resulted in a misrecording and the need to redo an episode? Yes, absolutely. I can tell you with 100% certainty that anybody who's been doing this for any amount of time has had this happen. It's a really common thing to the point that I don't even think it's anything anymore, but I've also been doing this long enough that I've perfected my workflow to the point that it doesn't really happen, unless if I'm being really stupid, which actually happened 2 weeks ago when I was playing Burnhouse Lane. I accidentally deleted a file before I finished editing it, so I had to go and replay like 5 minutes of the game. Not too bad, but still really, really stupid error. Anyone who does any type of recording, I really recommend that you find a way to really just smooth out your workflow to the point that stupid mechanical errors don't happen. Like the cases mentioned here, computer crashing, corrupt files, these things should never break your recording. If you're using OBS, if you record in MKV, even if your computer crashes, it will still produce a file. So there's a lot of little things you can do. Personally, I even have 2 instances of OBS on my taskbar. One that launches automatically with my PS5 recording settings, one that launches with my PC recording settings. So I never have to go and fiddle with the scenes and profiles and all that. Really, really recommend you do that if this is something that you do every day. And I also do keep my game saves on every single game I play, just in case, because you never know what's gonna happen. And yes, I do keep my old recordings, the finished file, not the raw files, because those are way too big. And I do have external hard drives just sitting here with all my YouTube files. Do I have an insanely good memory, or do I take notes when I play? I don't generally take notes, although I make exceptions for some games, like detective games and stuff. Back in school, I didn't really have trouble with any sort of memorization exam, so I do think probably in general my memory is pretty okay. One thing that helps for sure is editing though. I'll play the game once, and then when I edit the videos, I see the stuff again, so that helps with reinforcing memory. But I do also get told by my friends that it's kind of scary how I remember some random trivial thing from like 10 years ago that nobody else remembers. Have you ever had to hide your channel before? No, because people don't generally find out unless if I volunteer the information, which I don't do very often. One close call, if you can call it, is one of my friends that do know about my channel. One time they told me that they were hanging out with her cousin or something, and then they were watching YouTube videos together of indie games, and her cousin started showing her my videos. And my friend had to bite her tongue and not say anything because I told her, hey, don't tell anybody about my channel. Maybe somebody watching this right now is actually somebody that I know, a friend of a friend in real life. Who knows? Compared to old LPs, you started swearing much less. Did it affect me in real life too? First of all, is it a YouTube policy thing? Not really. Like, I know that you do get dinged a lot more often for swearing in videos these days, but part of it is just me growing up. Like, when I was younger, I didn't care enough about what came out of my mouth. But having been here for a while, I realized that that's not good, especially since whatever I say will get immortalized for all of eternity, basically. So yeah, not strictly a policy thing. I don't really want swearing to be someone's first impression of me, is all. And no, I still swear quite a bit when I talk to my friends though, my close friends. And I also change how I talk according to what I play. Like if I'm playing Tunic or Hollow Knight or Donut County, I'm not really gonna swear. But if I'm playing Wolfenstein, The New Order, then I'm not gonna fucking care. If you could talk to Minecraft fridge maker Wellens from 10 years ago, what advice would you give? Get a new monitor that's 1080p because your weird ass 1400 by 900 resolution monitor is gonna cause black bars. And also, don't give up. Don't give up. It ends up being somehow worth it if you keep going at it. Are there games that you considered seriously not finishing but pushed through for the sake of the channel? Would you sometimes drop a game if it were not for YouTube? Not in recent memory, I would say. Because this is the whole reason why I started doing first looks. Because I also had that, the thing about how I didn't want to drop a series before the game is finished. A first look is a safe way for me to check out a game to see if I want to commit to it. If I really didn't like something, I wouldn't continue it past the first look. But again, it really helps that I pick what I want to play. Like the reason why I would want to do a first look on something is because I looked at the description and I thought, hey, this looks interesting. So it's pretty uncommon that I would hate a game that much. Do you feel like you kind of have to embellish your final thoughts of a game to keep positivity? This is an interesting question that I feel like comes from someone who pays very close attention to me. The short answer is yes, but maybe not in the way necessarily that you're thinking. Because it sounds like the implication here is that I want to be really, really positive, so I don't say anything negative. Well, on some level, yes, but mainly because I try to think about my role in your life. Like, why are you watching my videos? If someone is watching, say, my Dragon Age series right now, and it's like 100 videos long, and they get to the very end, to my final thoughts, I think anybody who has sat through 100 videos, it's pretty easy to extrapolate that they probably like the game. You watch my videos for entertainment. You don't watch it because I'm some sort of a hardcore critic. And so I feel that I have the duty to make sure that you leave a video not feeling worse than you did before you open the video. And so because of that, I do try to be very careful in how I word things, but that's not to say that I don't say critical things about games, because I do. But I just try to be a little bit careful about how I word it. You'll hopefully never catch me saying anything like this game is trash, because that's useless and not helpful to anybody. But yeah, you're right, I do try to be not so negative. Especially because for indie games, I know that the chances of a dev watching my video gets higher the more indie a game is, and from one content creator to another, I'm not in the business of making anyone feel like crap. Do you think recording affects your experience and enjoyment of games? Yes, exactly in the ways you've listed here. Sometimes a game might be more enjoyable if I didn't play it for an audience, sometimes it might be less. When I'm recording, I try my best to pay way more attention to everything than if I'm just playing stuff by myself, so definitely for lore-heavy games, I think commentating does keep me more engaged. How do you feel about backseat comments? Like you said, it's inevitable, but I feel like I've been doing this long enough that it doesn't really super affect me. It's more about how you say it, rather than what you say. If someone gives the exact same sentiment but nicely versus rudely, it's gonna be a lot better received if it's nicely. The end. During a playthrough, you seem to not comment on how you feel about the game until your final thoughts. Is this on purpose? Stuff like, I really like this boss, or the scene was pretty cool, or I don't like this level. This is a really interesting observation. Again, this person is watching very closely. You're right, sometimes it is on purpose. I do think I say when things are cool though, maybe you just haven't seen those specific series. But if I didn't like something, I do tend to hold it back until the end. Like I said earlier, you're here to be entertained. You're not here to be bogged down by my negativity. Another reason I limit these kinds of comments is that I find it very immersion breaking. If I'm trying to engage myself in a story, suddenly pulling myself out of it and then being like, oh yeah, from like a player perspective, I really like this boss, I think is very, very immersion breaking thing for me. I don't mind doing it if the game is at a slower spot, but if it's like an intense, serious narrative moment, then I think I never make these comments. Okay, now we're finally moving on to the other random questions section. Have I ever been caught speeding? No. What part of your life is your favorite? Childhood, high school, college, now? Ooh, this is a really hard one. Definitely love the freedom I have now, but I think there's something about high school that how carefree everything was, where the biggest worry of my life was the English homework due tomorrow. There's an allure in that too, but I would probably have to say now. I mentioned in my Stray gameplay I don't have a cat, but I love cats. Why don't I have a cat? Will I get a cat? Yeah, I love cats, but I don't want to be responsible for the life of another being. That's a really big responsibility, you know? And I just don't feel like I'm interested in that kind of responsibility. But for my hypothetical cat, I think they probably would have a food name. Your love of idols is pretty well known by now, but I'd like to know which groups get you really excited to talk about. I used to be a big fan of Arashi, and even now I can't stop talking once the topic gets brought up. Hey, I like Arashi too. I'm not like a hardcore fan, but I like Nino. Pretty sure I mentioned this in the previous Q&A too, but I really liked Ryusei no Kizuna, Bonds of the Meteor. Morning Musume / Hello Project has been something, it's been a constant in my life for over half my lifespan, so it's just always going to be something that I really like. The history and all the members and all the songs and all that good stuff. Is anybody watching Chainsaw Man lately? The opening song, Dorok, Mirai, a beautiful star. That's sampled from a Morning Musume song, so check out Morning Musume, guys. Yeah. Other than that, I like a little bit of Johnny's too, which is the company that Arashi is under for the 98% of people who have no idea what I'm talking about right now. I used to like Yamapi a lot. Are there any games / shows you listen to the OST from when doing something else? If I'm working hard, if I'm concentrating, I don't listen to music because I have a big problem with singing along, so I can't listen to anything with vocals. But in general, my favorite video game OSTs, the Prey OST, the song When You're on the Helicopter, Nier Automata, Devotion, Undertale. For other shows and stuff, the Hamilton soundtrack, that shit is lit, and the Review Starlight soundtrack, that is also completely lit, especially the movie soundtrack. Your top 10 most listened artists in the streaming platform you're using. This is gonna be one that exposes certain things about me because I don't do streaming. I don't do Spotify, I don't do Apple Music or YouTube Music or whatever have you. I still do the very old-fashioned open MP3 file on my computer kind of thing. I use Winamp, for God's sake, which I think a lot of people might not even know what it is, but it was a music player that was popular on Windows or on PCs like 20 years ago. And the reason for that is because I've mentioned this in various places, but 95% of my music library, 95 being a generous underestimate to be honest, is Japanese. Japan is a backwards country in a lot of ways, and some of what I want to listen to just isn't on any streaming platforms. So unfortunately, I don't have these kind of stats. I wish I did, because I'm totally a stats junkie too, but I'll share my recently most listened to songs and artists or something on the screen right now. Among your friends, what are you best known for? Can I really quickly ask you guys for some help?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm doing another Q&A thingy on YouTube, and then somebody asked me, among your friends, what are you best known for? Please be nice.
For being mean.
Yeah. Yelling at us.
Well, I was gonna say weave shit and the YouTuber stuff.
Oh, yes.
Is it like personality or, like
Okay,
other
what
stuff?
kind of?
Just
Like,
says, among your friends, what are you best known for? And I thought, instead of me answering, it would probably be better to get it from the source.
Of all the
AKB.
people I know, you're the biggest weeb.
Yeah, so apparently I am mean, I am a weeb, and I do YouTube stuff. If you follow me on Twitter, the weeb thing is not a surprise, but I want to clarify a little bit on the mean thing. This is one of those things that might come as a surprise to you because I'm actually, when I'm on the channel, when I commentate, it's a public platform, so I'm holding back quite a bit when I say things. But among my friends, I don't really hold back, and sometimes I say really, really rude things. Like, I don't mince words. What's the silliest fear you have? I'm kind of scared of moths and butterflies. Oh no! I hope... moths are kind of scary though, especially when they hang around the light and all that. Butterflies, they tend to move around freely, but moths, yeah, those are kind of scary. I don't like balloons. I don't like that they have the potential to pop. And also, holes. I don't like holes. I have trypophobia. I've mentioned this a million times. What odd talent do you have? This is a little bit hard for me to show without a face cam and stuff, but I can clap my hands together and make a song out of that. Listen. Could you tell what that was? That was Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. What would you like to know more about but haven't had time to look into? So many things. Photography, coding. I'm really interested in the idea of automating repetitive tasks. I hate the idea of wasting time on doing stuff that people shouldn't be spending time on. If I had all the time in the world, I'd also like to learn to play an instrument, maybe like the piano or something. What wrong assumptions do people make about you? Ooh, this is a big one. People make wrong assumptions about me every day, but I don't correct people. If I see someone say something wrong, I don't correct anybody. Because I think it's kind of funny. Well, it's funny to me. You wouldn't know, but it's funny to me, and I think it's good to have a little bit of misinformation floating out there anyway. But that I'm culturally similar to them, I think is a big one. And I would say this applies to the majority of you, not all of you, but to a big majority. Because I'm speaking English to you right now, because I play certain types of games, that already draws in a certain crowd, but it's not necessarily the cultural background that I identify with. It's kind of like how online in English Anglophone circles, you usually find that, oh, people automatically assume you're from the States because the States is like the center of the world, but well, not quite, right? Video games is probably the most Western culture-focused thing I'm into. I don't really know anything about stuff like Western pop music or movies and stuff, which is why sometimes in Let's Plays, you'll hear me say stuff like, oh, I haven't really watched the Marvel movies, I'm not really into superheroes, just because I'm not into it. Because of that, I think there's probably a lot of rudimentary basic culture things that you expect me to know that I don't know. And the vice versa is also true. I know certain things that you probably don't know. For example, when I was playing Dragon Age, something interesting that came up was the concept of dragons being evil or not. In my head, dragons are like benevolent, wise creatures. And I said that in a Dragon Age video, and some comments were like, oh, what are you talking about? Dragons are like, pretty evil, right? And then someone very astutely pointed out that this is the difference between the depiction of dragons in Eastern versus Western culture, which I hadn't even realized, but there you go. Sometimes this cultural difference manifests in interesting places. What am I better at than 90% of people? Oh, 90%? That's a lot of people. But probably storing endless amounts of useless trivia about stuff that I care about in my head. If you could go back in time as an observer, no one could see you, and you couldn't interact with anything, when would you want to go back to? Check out some dinosaurs, I guess? What else can I do? I can't do anything anyway. Or maybe go back to like the creation of the universe or something existential like that. Have I ever watched any of the main Star Wars movies? I have. I've actually seen all of them except for the last one, I think. I don't really remember much though. But it wasn't that recent. I watched all of them around during the time when the new trilogy came out, the first one in the new trilogy, but then I just never got around to watching the last one. I sort of just sat through them though. I wasn't really like active watching. Have I ever watched the Alien movies? Any of the first 3? No. Should I? Is it scary? It sounds scary. And then some questions on learning languages. I've definitely answered these questions in more depth before, so go back if you want to see more detail, but I'm not a good person to ask because the ways that I've picked up stuff is like by osmosis and just brute forcing rather than anything that's like structured in a school/class setting. But in my case, I think passion has a big part to play in it. It's because I really enjoy something and I want to get to know it more, and there's a language barrier. And so I try my best to overcome that language barrier so I can enjoy my thing more. How do you say corn in Cantonese? Sok mai. What's your favorite type of melon to eat? Unironically, watermelon. Do you have a favorite food that you eat way more often than anything else? Cheese, not watermelon. What's your favorite exotic animal? Are capybaras exotic enough? They're cute and chill. Am I a silly goose? No, I'm a 10-year-old watermelon. What's the most ridiculous thing you've done because you were bored? Stand eggs on their ends. There seems to be a lot of shows and movies filmed in your area. Have you seen any of them? Any celebrity encounters? Not really, but I can't say it. There's one that I can't say because it's too close. It's too identifying. What would your perfect Sunday look like? What's your dream home/lifestyle? How do you describe a lifestyle? I don't know. I just want to laze around. Maybe pick up a new hobby every now and then. But I just want to get out of the capitalism cycle. I don't want to go to work. Is that too realistic and sad? I'm sorry. That's my dream lifestyle. What is your New Year's resolution? Ooh, I've had do the splits for a few years now. I don't know if I'll really get around to it though. I picked it because I feel like it's supposed to be a simple thing that I incrementally work on every day, but yeah, it hasn't really been going. Realistically, be a kinder, more understanding person. If you could change one thing about yourself or your life, what would it be? Do you want like a philosophically profound answer to that? Or can I say something like, can I be a billionaire? And then some questions about moving. How's life in Western Canada? Do I see myself moving elsewhere, either within Canada or to another country entirely? It's okay here, but things are getting increasingly, very noticeably expensive. But I get the impression that's probably the case everywhere, so maybe not exclusive to Western Canada. Moving? If I had a reason to, maybe I would consider it, but at the moment I feel pretty fine where I am. I feel like it absolutely depends on how similar or different the country that you want to move to is in comparison to the country that you live in right now, though. Some of you know that I've lived in Hong Kong, and like if you compare Hong Kong to Canada versus the States to Canada, that's two completely different things, right? But no, at the moment, I don't feel like moving. So here's my Tallneck. It's actually pretty damn big. It's just been sitting on my desk because I don't have a display location for it yet. But yeah. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you learned something today about me that you wanted to know about. I hope I sated your curiosity. Like I said earlier, you all self-select to stay here, and I'm very grateful for that. I hope I can continue to share my video game experiences with you guys. And with that said, I guess I'll see you on the next video, which hopefully will be video game related and not about me. Okay, thank you so much. Goodbye for now.